Hey there, Stampers. Happy Friday. Welcome to this week's YouTube Live. My name is Sherry Roth. I'm a Stampin' Up! Demonstrator from Alberta, Canada, and I am excited to be here to share an A2 card box idea with you. So let me share a peek at the card box. So this is a nice size card box. It comfortably holds four A2 size cards. So that's the standard size card, 4 1/4 by 5 1/2, and envelopes. You could probably squeeze in a card, maybe two more cards if you wanted to do six cards, but I find four cards fit nicely in there. So I'm going to share how to create this card or this box, and we are going to use the party banner dies from Stampin' Up! For this box. And we're going to decorate it using the Layered Thoughts stamp set and some dies from the Impressions of Bloom die set, which is an online exclusive item. And we're going to switch up the colors from this sample. So this sample uses Poppy Parade and Petal Pink, and some Shaded Spruce. We are going to switch up the colors today and we're going to make it using Strawberry Slush and Pretty in Pink. And I believe we're using Mossy Meadow for the green. Okay. All right. So let me set this stuff aside and we're going to go ahead and we're going to start cutting our pieces. I'll share the other pieces that I've already die cut with you in a minute. But here is a template, and I will take a photo of this and include it in today's blog post, which will go live shortly after I'm finished with this video. So we need to start with a 7 by 11 inch piece of cardstock. Okay, so this is going to be the inner part of the box. So we want to cut it 7 inches, and then it's already 11 inches. And then we're going to score it at 1 inch. So we've got the short edge at the top, and we're going to score it at 1 inch. And then we're going to flip it around and score it at 1 inch from the other end. And then we're going to put the long edge at the top and we're going to score it at 5 inches. And then rotate it around again and score it 5 inches from the other end. So that's going to give us 1 inch in the middle and 1 inch on either end. Okay, we can get rid of that. Now what we're going to do is we're going to take our snips and we're going to cut just to the right, about 1/8 of an inch to the right of this first score line, and then 1/8 of an inch to the left and up to the score line to create these little triangles. It doesn't have to be perfect. You just want to remove some of that bulk so it folds nicely so you don't have a bunch of bulk when you go to assemble your box. We're going to repeat that on this side. And then do the same for this. Okay, so that is going to be the box part, the inside box part. And then for the front and back panels, we need two of our banner dies. So these, like I said, are from the Party Banners dies from Stampin' Up. They are in the annual catalog. You need two in the largest size. So I designed this box so that it would fit cards inside. Um, but you can change the size of this box depending on the size that you want your banners to be, or depending on the size of what you have to go inside of it, right? So there's 14 different sizes of banners, so you could create a box in any one of those 14 sizes. Okay, so you want two of these. So if you cut three pieces that measure 5 1/2 by 8 1/2 and cut two of them with the largest banner, then that will be your front and your back cover. And then you'll need a contrasting color or a coordinating color. So I used Pretty in Pink for this one, and I used the third largest. So I skipped a size because I wanted a little bit of a wider border in there. So this is the third largest that I die cut from some Pretty in Pink. And then the fourth largest, so one size smaller than that, I went ahead and I die cut from some Strawberry Slush cardstock. Okay. All right. I know, Layla, I love Strawberry Slush. I am not a pink person, but there's something about Strawberry Slush that I really like. Okay, and then what I did was I took an embossing folder and I used the pressed flowers embossing folder. If you are using a directional embossing folder, just make a note that you want the bottom to be the straight edge. Okay, so you're going to put it in this way. Normally, when we use banners, we're using them this way. But we want that flagged bit to be at the top. Okay, so if you're using directional and a directional embossing folder, then you want that straight edge to be at the bottom. Okay, all right. So you've got those pieces, and we're going to go ahead and we're going to actually decorate our box before we start assembling it because it'll be much easier. So I'm going to set those pieces aside. I'll set these dies aside. And we're going to bring in our little mini machine because we need to do some more die cutting. Okay, and we need some plates. Oops. Okay, so we've got some plates here, and I am going to use this Impressions of Bloom die set, which I love. I don't buy a lot of flowers, but I absolutely fell in love with these. Initially, it was because of this chunky oval, but I do love the flowers in this set. And you can find, if you check my blog at stamptreasures.com, you can actually find a tutorial where I did a class to go using this fabulous bundle. It is part of the online exclusives, and it is part of a suite, which as of today, which is, what's the date today? 27th of June, until the 30th of June, so until the end of the month, there is actually a suite sale going on. When you purchase either an entire suite or products from a suite, you can get a second suite or product from a suite for 50% off, which is such a fabulous deal. And this die set cord counts as one of those items. Okay, so I'm just taking my paper piercing tool. I'm going to poke out these leaves. So I did two leaves and then this double stem that I die cut from some Mossy Meadow cardstock. Poke this out. Okay, and we're done with the Mossy Meadow. We can put these away and we're going to die cut our flowers as well. So I'll bring back my die cutting machine. Now we're going to use Pretty in Pink. Let's just scoot these over here. And we're going to cut this die here and this die here from some Pretty in Pink cardstock. And just feed this through. And I think we've got all of our die cutting done now, so we can set that aside. Poke out these flowers and these guys. Put these away and set this aside. Okay. All right, now we're going to do some stamping. So I love this stamp set. I love it because it's something a little bit different. The ingredients are nice and big, so they can really be the focal point on a project. And we're going to create a thank you box. So this is a great little gift idea. This is a box I think that I'll turn to over and over for different occasions because not only can you tuck cards in it, but um, you can tuck little gifts in it as well. And depending on the gift that you're putting inside, like I said, you can change the size of your box. All right, so I've got the word thank, and I'm going to ink the entire thing with Pretty in Pink. So you want to start with your lighter color. We're going to create like a little ombre look. And then I'm going to go in the Strawberry Slush, but only do about half. of the word. Okay, and I could stamp it like this, but you can see we've got a harsh line right there, and I want to blend that line in. I don't want it to be so harsh. So I'm going to take a red or pink sponge dauber, and I'm kind of going over the red just to soften it because these are both really juicy pads. And then I've got a pink, and I'm just going to go over the pink and then over into the red. And then I'm going to huff on it and stamp. And then I get this beautiful ombre greeting. Isn't that fun? I love it. Okay. And then we're going to do the word you just in some Memento ink. And then both of those need to be fussy cut. So I've gone ahead and I've done that so that you don't need to watch me do that. We'll set that aside. Okay, and then the other thing we want to do is we want to add a little bit of highlights to our pieces here. Okay, so I'm going to grab a scrap piece of paper first. And we're going to take these pieces and we're going to take our finger dauber that has the strawberry slush on it and just kind of lightly, because this is a darker color, we're just going to lightly go over that just at the base of the flower. This is going to give your flower a little bit of dimension, just like that. And then we're going to take some mossy meadow and a green finger dauber and just do a little bit at the base of the leaf. Because this is a darker color, this one isn't as noticeable. All right. Okay. So we'll set those pieces aside. And I think we've got everything that we need. We can start assembling. So we're going to bring in one of our largest pieces, one of our largest banners, and then the pretty and pink banner. Add some multi-purpose glue, flip it over. Remember that your flag bit is going to be at the top. Okay, so we're just going to center that. And then we're going to take our embossed layer and do the same thing. I'm going to be a little bit more generous with my adhesive on this one just because it does have some embossing on it. This box actually comes together really quickly. Well, especially because I've got the pieces die cut. Aw, thanks, Sharon. I love coming up with different packaging ideas and trying to show versatility in a die set because this is a pricier die set. You can do a lot with it. I mean, you can make banners with it, you can make home decor, you can scrapbook with it, you can make cards with it. There's a ton of things. There are a ton of things that you can do with it. But I figured there's got to be a way that you can create some sort of packaging with it. So yeah, and I came up with an idea. Okay, so we're going to finish decorating this before we move on to assembling our box. So here we're going to take this, we're going to add some dimensionals to the back of this. And I think we'll use mini dimensionals. No, we could fit some bigger ones on here. Okay, we're going to pop this in here like that. And then we're going to assemble our flowers. I am going to bring in my silicone mat here just because I don't want to get my glass mat all sticky. We are going to add, okay, if you look at these flowers, these two smaller ones, all three of them are different. So this smaller one has three leaves kind of off to the left. That is the one that I want to layer on top of here because this has a little bit more of a gap on the left-hand side. You need these dies, Sharon. You really do. You won't regret that decision. Okay, so we're going to put that on there like that. And then we're going to add a little bit of adhesive to the back of this. And that's going to go on top here like that. And then we'll do the same thing on this one. So add a little bit of glue here. And then we're going to add our leaves. This one right about here. And we'll do this one a little higher, right about there. Okay. And look at the dimension that adding that extra color, look at how much dimension just adding that little bit of sponged detail on there adds to the flowers. Okay, we're just going to let that set before we stick them onto our project. Now what we're going to do is we are going to assemble our box. Now, there is another way that you can do this. You can do this so that it doesn't have so much, like this is going to cover over here. So you can create this box so that you've got kind of two sides where you don't have this extra bulk that's going to be covered over by this. But I wanted the box to be sturdy, so I felt that this was the way to do it, was to add that extra cardstock in there. Because when you add 4 or even 6 cards and envelopes in there, there's some weight to the box. So I didn't want it to fall apart. That's the last thing you want. If you're giving a gift, you don't want it to fall apart. So having that extra cardstock, and this is doing it this way, it's much less finicky. It does use a little bit more cardstock, but it's a sheet of cardstock. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we are going to assemble our box. So let me think about this here. I can't remember if I used multi-purpose glue. We're going to use multi-purpose glue. I can't remember if I used multi-purpose glue or tear and tape. So we're going to do that and then add this in here. Like we're going to fold this in. This is going to get tucked and we're going to put that like that. And remember, you don't have to put it right to the, like, because it's not a straight edge, right? We cut it at an angle. So you're really going for like a 90 degrees angle. So I'm using my table so that I can make sure that this is straight, or my glass mat, a flat surface. Then we can do this side and just fold that in. The first time I did it, I actually lined it up with the bottom and I ended up having to adjust it because then it didn't line up at the top. Okay, and then this, all right. So you can see that it's not going to be flush there, and that's okay. You can see that I was working. Oh yeah, I've got green ink from my leaves here. All right, now we're going to put adhesive all along here. And here, we just wanna make sure it lines up at the top. And as long as you don't put too much adhesive on here, it actually dries pretty quickly. You can see that I'm just doing a narrow bead. It really helps to have it in just a little fine nozzled glue bottle. Our multi-purpose glue is a really good glue. It folds really well. You don't need a lot. All right, so there is our box. I'm just gonna use my bone folder, slide it in here. Make sure that that's really sealed. All right. Now we're going to punch holes first. So we need to punch holes so that we can create our handles. And I am going to use a 1/8 inch circle punch and just punch a couple holes at the top and then do the same here. You don't have to line them up so that they're perfectly even. But since it's unassembled and you might as well try to get it even. Okay. Now, at this point, you can it might be easier actually to add our ribbon before we assemble. So I just have some plain white ribbon from Stampin' Up. It's a great width. I think it's like about a quarter of an inch. It's a great ribbon for this. And you want about 13 inches or 26 inches, two pieces that measure 13 inches. I found that that was a good length. So I've got my two pieces, pop that away. Let's cover this over. So then what you're going to do is you're going to take this, you're going to feed it through the hole, and you're going to tie a knot. So I'm feeding it through quite a bit, but just so that it's easier to tie the knot. So just wrap it around, pull it tight, and I want to get it as close to the end as possible, but I don't want to pull it too tight because you don't want it to go through that hole. And then I'm going to do the same thing on this side and pull it longer. You can even double knot it if you're worried about it coming through. Okay, so there's one. Look how pretty that looks. I love this color. Oh my gosh, I love it so much. Okay, and there is a right and a wrong side on this. So you can see it's got a cleaner edge, just like most dies. It's got a cleaner edge on one side than it does the other. So make sure that you're feeding it through from the right side or from the front to the back because you want your knot to be on the inside of the box. So when I created my original box, I decorated it all afterwards because I wasn't sure what I was going to do and it was just a trial run. I wasn't sure how it was going to work. So decorating it afterwards was what I did. Um, it is much easier to do before you start assembling. See how close these are. It's pretty close. It's not too bad. One is a little bit shorter than the other. That's all right. Okay, so now we can go ahead and we can start assembling, or we can finish putting our box together. So I'm going to add some multi-purpose glue all over here. And again, I'm going to be generous because you don't want your box to fall apart. And now this is going to go on here. You want it flush with the bottom, but there will be a little bit of a gap on both sides. So I find flipping it over a little bit easier to line up. And then I use my table to make sure it's flush at the bottom. And then I'll use my bone folder and apply pressure on the inside to make sure that that glue really grabs to the cardstock. Okay, so it's flush at the bottom and it's about an eighth of an inch, maybe a little bit more than an eighth of an inch on either side. And I think that finishes it off really nicely, having that little bit of a gap. We're just going to do the same thing on this side. And again, make sure that you have the right side out. I wonder if we could line this up going this way. I think this would be really pretty with some tissue paper sticking up as well. So having some tissue paper coming out, if you have a little gift inside, oops, okay, use my bone folder again, tuck it under there or inside. I'm gonna rub, trying to get right down to the bottom. And there we go, our box is assembled. Isn't that pretty? Okay, we're ready to add our flower. So I am going to use some dimensionals. I'm going to put dimensionals on the backs of the flowers and the leaves. And then I'm going to do just a little bit of multi-purpose glue on the stem. So just right here, I'm just going to put a little bit of multi-purpose glue. And then we're going to tuck this right in there because this is a 3D project. It doesn't matter if it's hanging off the edge. Okay, and now we need a little embellishment to finish it off. So on my sample, I used some iridescent pearls. So I used these on my Poppy Parade sample, but I might switch it out for this one. I could use some butterflies. I think those would be really pretty. Or we could use some of these. These are the Strawberry Slush and Pretty and Pink gems. Those are also part of the sweet sale. That could be a good option. I don't think I'm going to use these ones. Let's put these away. Let's see what else we've got in here. Oh, we've got some in color. I don't think I want to use those though. Okay, I think those are our best options. Let's see. I think I'm going to use the butterflies actually. I think those will be really pretty. All right. These are our brushed brass butterflies. And I think I might stick with just two of them. But I think I want to move this guy. There we go. So there is our box. So now we need some cards to go inside. I'm not going to make the cards today. I made a few of these cards, actually two of these cards in a video not too long ago. I think it was actually, it might have even been last week. So this one here using the Celebratory Sips, I think it's called DSP. And then this one here. So these are both Strawberry Slush. We've got some envelopes to go with them. They both have Strawberry Slush in them. So I pulled out some cards that would kind of go with the box. And then I did this one using the washi tape. So hey, let's celebrate. So this uses that fabulous new washi tape. And then I have this one here, which I did. This one uses the banners. It uses the same embossing folder. It also uses the washi tape. This was a make and take that we did at our Creative Carnival last weekend. And so we're just going to tuck these in here. like that. And now we've got a cute little gift idea. So isn't that fun? Next time you go head out for dinner to visit a friend, or if you want to thank somebody, isn't that a fabulous gift idea? Looks so pretty and really not difficult to make. You can make it match anything. So let me share the cards that are in this one. So the cards in this one are ones I created using a one sheet wonder. Um, it's a 6x6 one sheet wonder that I used. And again, this one uses the same. So I created it so that, there were similarities. I used the banner dies. I have the same embossing folder. Here's another one. So this uses a pattern paper from the Turtley Cute pattern paper pack. And this has nothing to do with turtles. I can't reinforce it enough that make sure that you look at both sides of your pattern paper because there are so many options when you look at both sides. Oftentimes, we're turned off of a pattern paper because we don't like the A side. For example, that turtley cute paper, that's not for me. But I have used almost an entire package because I love the back sides of the paper. All right. So, and I will have photos of these cards in today's blog post as well as this box. And I will also link in that blog post to where you can find the template for this one sheet wonder. All right. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I hope that you liked this box. I hope you give it a try. If you do give it a try and you share a photo, I would love for you to tag me at Stamped Treasures so that I can check it out. And I'm sure you'll be seeing lots more versions of this box. All right. So I will include a full supply list in the description below. If you enjoyed this video, give me a thumbs up. If you are not yet a subscriber, hit that subscribe button. And if you live in Canada and don't have a Stampin' Up! Demonstrator, I would love for you to shop with me. All right. Have a great weekend. Take care. Bye, guys.